Southern Governors meeting and the new bridges to cross in the nation. Also on Political Update today, we shall be talking youth empowerment as key in the fight against crime and criminality. I'm Fisayo Ogunfui. Welcome. During this week's observance of Eid al-Fitr, the nation's leaders leveraged on the season to promote messages of peace, unity, and progress. The fight against outlaws, which is taking its toll on the psyche of the average Nigerian, was also described as a challenge that is being spared no effort to achieve victory.
In the last few weeks, we had about 7 hours meeting. I think the National Security Advisor had gone public to what he could go public with and explain. We understand the problem. We are going by the Constitution. We are doing our best with the resources available and the manpower available to us. We are working very hard, and I think the National Assembly is cooperating very well.
So what do you expect from Nigerians? What do you want from them now?
I expect Nigerians to be more understanding and try to understand the issues involved within the time limit and the resources available to the country. Our biggest surprise and disappointment is what is happening in the Northwest, and we are going to deal with it so that people can go back to the land. This is very important so that we can get enough food for the country and even export.
The president is reaching out to all the stakeholders, and I believe that as leaders, particularly those of us that are elected at all levels of government, we should avoid partisanship, we should avoid regionalism. We are all leaders and we are in this together. The solutions must come from us regardless of what level of government we are, whether at the federal level or at the state level or even at the local government level.
Truth be told, we all have equal shares in the blame in whatever challenges we have. We must all come together to make sure that we resolve whatever issues. It is that spirit of oneness and that spirit of togetherness and unity and love that will take us, take us through this.
Still looking at the legislative arm, the president of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, says calls for restructuring may be counterproductive and inimical to national unity, stability, and a sustainable future. Senator Lawan also made a case for Nigerians to support efforts at guaranteeing the desired autonomy for local governments in the country.
I believe that as leaders, those of us who are elected must not be at the forefront of calling for this kind of thing, because even if you are a governor, you are supposed to be working hard in your state to ensure that this restructuring you are calling at the federal level, you have done it in your state as well. Because what you may accuse the federal government of whatever it is, you may also be accused of the same thing in your state. So we are supposed to ensure that we have a complete and total way of ensuring that our systems at the federal, at the states, and even local governments work for the people, that we allow people to participate in governance, that whoever feels that he has something to offer to make Nigeria better does so freely without any let or hindrance.
At least we can't be the same thing, we can never be the same thing, but we can be comfortable. And then everyone can be incorporated and live a good life. And that is what we are praying for this country, because the enormous opportunity in these countries are there. Nigeria has the capacity to become a world power economy. Once we can have a good system in place with no corruption, and then we can also have unity, no ethnic background or religious background or anything, put our head together to work for the progress of this country. The country can resist power, and we can become world power economy, and the whole world will respect Nigeria again.
Now, what has been a contentious issue for years now seems to have been laid to rest. The landmark judgment of the Supreme Court declaring illegal the dissolution of elected officials at the local government level by some state governors has generated reactions from different stakeholders. Some described the Apex Court's decision as a pivot for the strengthening of democratic governance in Nigeria.
I think beyond just declaring it illegal, the court should go ahead and reinstate those people to their offices to go and complete their tenure and compel the usurpers to refund whatever allowances and salaries they have taken. I think if that is done, this will discourage the state executives from brazenly going ahead to dissolve the local government.
I verily do believe that the Supreme Court was right in, the judgment declaring that dissolution of elected councils at the local government levels is illegal. That is because if you look at Section 12 of the Constitution, it talks about democratically run local governments in Nigeria.
They illegally entered here and they have been receiving salary. And Supreme Court has declared them illegal. Let them refund the salary they received.
Any caretaker committee is unconstitutional and contrary to the clear provisions of Section 7 of the Constitution. That is what the Supreme Court said.
Talking governors, the governors of southern states met in Asaba earlier in the week with some key resolutions. Chief among them, the deliberations and resolutions were efforts to tackle insecurity.
Shortly on arrival, the southern governors entered a closed-door meeting with the host governor and chairman of South-South Governors Forum, Ifeanyi Okowa, to brainstorm on the security situation in the country and as it affects the southern state's political zone. In a communique issued by the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, observed that the incursion of armed herders, criminals and bandits into the southern part of the country has presented a severe security challenge to the people. He stressed that Nigeria should remain committed to the unity of Nigeria on the basis of justice, fairness, equity, and oneness, as well as peaceful coexistence between and amongst its people. It was also agreed that the progress of the nation requires urgent and bold steps to be taken to restructure the Nigerian Federation, leading to the evolution of the state police, review of the revenue allocation, amongst others.
The forum affirmed that the peoples of southern Nigeria remain committed to the unity of Nigeria on the basis of justice, fairness, equity, and oneness, and peaceful coexistence between and among its people.
Meeting advocated the activation and establishment of pulse in other states of the Federation to create new jobs and promote socio-economic activity in the country. The meeting also expressed concern on the economic implications of another lockdown. State governments were encouraged to evolve strategies for dealing with the pandemic.
All right, moving on now. Today on Political Update, we will explore the non-combat options in tackling insecurity, key amongst which is youth employment. There's a focus around the world on creatively providing avenues for sustenance for citizens, especially after the huge toll of COVID-19 on the economies of the world, with telling impact on individuals. Joining us is Jude Tabai. Today, thank you very much for joining us. It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
We've been talking, in this series about, non-combat options in terms of trying to solve some of these challenges we've had across the country in terms of insecurity. You have had some experiences, especially in your region, mobilizing and doing regional integration. How do we first reach out, especially since, those who are maybe being used as cannon fodder of the younger generation?
Yeah. First and foremost, the biggest challenge we have is you can't talk about how do we reach out or solve problems without security. And when you talk about security, 90% of the crises associated with security are committed by the youths. But there's a big lacuna that I see in most of these crises. The difference between the political class and these boys. The synergy is always abandoned once they get into power, and they leave these boys vulnerable to living the kind of lifestyle which actually they are not supposed to be living. And that is where most of these problems are coming from. Because I realize that there are very few of these leaders who see these boys as their own. They see them as contractors. So having contracted them to get into power, they turn their back against them. So the dividends of democracy that they are supposed to be reaping hardly comes to them. you now realize that most of these boys are abandoned. Like if you look at what's happening in Nigeria today, there are a lot of programs after this COVID-19 thing that the government is doing. And I can tell you, sincerely speaking, the impact is supposed to be very huge because there's so much money that has been put on the streets for them to take care of youths and all our programs of the government. But how does it go? It has been turned to personal.
At the state level?
Yes, both state and national. I must tell you, if you go deep, you realize that so much funds have been pumped into making sure they reach out to the youths in all various SMEs and other programs, But the same thing I'm saying, the way you gather these boys to work for you in politics, the same way you should gather them to come and benefit from whatever is coming out of your political office.
You mentioned before we came on the issue of the fact that it's as if, somehow we've allowed, criminality to thrive in the sense that, a few, maybe, a number of the boys, after a while, have now found it, so easy. Just going to criminality, it reaps its natural rewards.
Let me tell you what happened in Niger Delta. That's about 25 years ago. We had kidnappings in the creeks. And these boys who were kidnapping were known as sea pirates. And as far as I know, a sea pirate is supposed to go to the sea and hijack vessels and kidnap them. We don't know what they do. But all of a sudden, they started coming into the creeks and started kidnapping our parents, and everybody was like, wow. And nobody could talk. I remember that's almost 30 years, no militancy then. Myself and PZ Agenia Lit, one of our strong advocates in the struggle, came up. We said, these are the things. We must help the government. We must help. It's not about everything government. And we summoned a meeting in Delta State, Okoloba community precisely, where just like what Sheikh Gume did, where all these boys came with their arms and ammunition. It's not government sponsored. And then questions were asked. My brother, what is the problem? The lives of late John Togo and some of the big militants then that were terrorizing the entire region. I said, but what will be the problem now? How come people now, you have left your sea piracy, now you're coming to do creek piracy? And then we had to discuss. There must be that sense of, we are brothers, we are family. And then from there, you now know what their problems is. And then you begin to think of how to tinker. And then on that thing again is, once you do that, you know what they want. You may not be able to solve it, but at least you now know that there is a way. And two, that also gives you an identity and for you to know those who are actually in this business, because everybody came out, and that's how we started it. And from there, we try to see how we can calm them down. And then we also let them know that these things you are doing, let me give you one secret, these things you are doing are wrong. Do you know in the course of most of these boys going for their so-called sea piracy business, they lose lives. And at the end of the day, they go for burials. I don't smoke. I don't drink. But when they do these burials, I have to go. I have to attend this burial. Why would I go and attend a burial of a...
Just to show that you empathize.
No. The idea, I'm trying to land somewhere. What was I doing? I was really trying to build myself into their den, to be able to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that way you now know that there's nothing this way, because you have to build that confidence in them. Once you build the confidence in them, whatever happens, you can always have a solution. You can, if you like, bring the entire Nigerian army, you won't get a solution. But with one call, with the apple, boy, we did the apple for them. You'll be surprised that because of how you're able to, things you're not supposed to do, you do them just to make sure they have that confidence building, and they open up to you.
Okay, we come back to, you were talking of efforts in terms of mobilizing and then changing direction from, in your case, militancy into constructive, efforts in government. Let's quickly take our next reporter. This one captures the views of some Nigerian politicians calling for all political actors to rise above party lines in ensuring the peace and stability of the country. They say there must be a country first before politics.
We that are in the state are having it difficult to explain to our people. I've had several times people come to me and say, Governor, what are you doing? No matter how bad the state police is, let us experiment it. After all, we have the SEC. After all, the state governments are running the elections of the state.
Let the governors at the different levels at the states know that they also have a duty to arrest this situation at the local government level by releasing funds of the local government to local government councils. So let them make things beautiful in the state and engage the youth in the state, because all the youths of this country who are causing one problem or the other, they belong to one state or the other. And so it is not just the federal government matter to arrest.
So that Nigeria will continue to be one, and then there will be peace. Security, without security, there cannot be development. That is simple. That's as simple as ABC.
So in a quick short word, because of time, what are the areas we can begin to engage, quickly, so that, there's a toga of issue of idle hands. What do we begin to do, to get people, especially the youth involved in our development processes?
Yeah. First and foremost, I must be frank. The issue of skill acquisition is very key. It's not just acquiring the skill and empowering them. And once that is done, you're going to pull out a lot of people out of their evil ways. Then two, the political class has a lot of role to play. Because each time you're given the privilege of doing skill acquisition for people that are supposed to be benefiting from this, they should realize that those are the ones they should face. You realize the political class in most cases turn into family businesses and leaving the downtrodden, those that need it more, from benefiting from it. Once these little loopholes are taken care of, and then there's continuous synergy between the top and the lower cadre, I bet you peace is definitely going to be. There mustn't be any gap. Like from all you see all over the country, there's a gap between the youths and the leadership. And that gap is what is creating all this crisis, because you allow these things, and by the time it gets too late, it's always difficult to make a U-turn. Empowerment programs are going on. And instead of, let me give an example of what we used to do in those days. NDDC wants to empower people. So people want to go to school. Do you know I have to get passports? I have to get a cameraman to snap these boys, because you tell them to fill a form and snap, they won't even do it. I have to get a cameraman, take their pictures, fill the forms for them, and then do my part. And at the end of the day, out of 100 or 200, maybe like 10, 30, 40, 20 got those things. And I know how many benefited. These are the ways we should live with our youths. Once the things are done like that, but you will see a lot of changes will come up. It's very easy. I don't know. People make these things look as if it's invisible. I don't know. It's so painful when I hear people try to create an impression like problems are not solvable. My brother, let me tell you, these are security matters. We have been in this game. It's a game we play. Problems are solvable once there's sincerity on the side of the political class.
All right, let's take a bit from the continent. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni was sworn in for the 6th term in office this week in Kampala, the country's capital. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo represented President Muhammadu Buhari at the occasion.
Here we are at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, venue for the swearing-in and inauguration ceremonies of Yoweri Museveni, who is being sworn in for the 6th time as a democratically elected president. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is flying the country's flag at this occasion, and he is here congratulating President Museveni on behalf of Nigeria. 11 other presidents are attending physically, while many others are being represented. The lowering of this flag signifies the end of a journey that began in 1986 and a continuation of another 5 years term with the taking of oath of office and allegiance. In a speech titled Securing Your Future, President Museveni wants African countries to form synergy for economic and political development.
We can defend Africa if we act together and act right.
Africa, he says, would be more stronger economically and possibly politically with all boundaries on trade and other issues removed.
That concludes political update for today. Many thanks to Jutabai for coming and giving us insight on engaging the youths and also crisis management things that we could do in solving some of these crises. Also, we wanted to have a second conversation with the Independent National Electoral Commission. We'll probably try and bring that on Tuesday, talking about the expansion of polling units across states, as well as some other issues surrounding the off-cycle elections as well. My name is Fisayo Ogunfuyi, thanking you for being a part of today's program. Of course, also thanking my guest, Jutabai, for being a part of it, and urging you to play your politics for the greater good and stick with the Nigerian Television Authority, where we continue to give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Bye-bye now.